You need something more than lust in order for the marriage to survive.
It ain't gonna be with the movies that you watch. That ain't marriage.
That ain't marriage.
Okay? It ain't marriage. Those are actors. Those are actors acting. Hello there, and welcome to Fridays with Tab and Chance. I am Tabitha Brown, and this is my husband. You like that?
Chance, what's up?
All right, bring the beat in. You're a little delayed. Fridays with Tab and Chance. Ba-dum, bum, bum.
Fridays.
I mean, if you gonna do slow, I can do slow.
Fridays with Tab and Chance. No, you did it like the church. It's supposed to be jazzy. You did that with the
I
old
was doing
ladies.
jazzy.
No, you
no,
did it
I
like
was doing
them
jazzy.
old
And then you
ladies
switched
up
it
there
up.
who
I was doing it.
don't realize they need to give it to the youth people.
No, there's
Get out
also
the
a
way.
senior choir for when that time comes.
It's a time when you need to get out from up there too. Get out from up there.
I'm so glad that you said that.
All right.
Because this is exactly on topic today.
All right.
Let's talk about it. Today's topic is wedding, marriage theatrics versus real marriage. Marriage, period. Okay? There's a difference. I think we're living in a time where we have, of course, social media, and a lot of people be posting like couple goals, right? Wedding goals, date night, like all these great, beautiful things that make people excited about getting married, right? Which is great. Getting married is a beautiful thing. But I think people get excited about the theatrics of, how the wedding is going to be. How, the engagement party. Even like Tiff was saying earlier, gender reveals, like all that stuff. That's one day. Like the wedding is one day. My daddy told me that too.
Yeah, I remember.
20 years ago. My dad is 20 plus years ago. My daddy said, y'all doing a lot of planning for one day. He said, make sure that you taking all that and you put that into your marriage. So a lot of times, I think that's where we are now, which is why divorce is at such a high rate, because people planning for the wedding, but they're not planning for the marriage. Their focus is the glitz and the glam and the beauty of it. But a whole lot of other things come with marriage that you don't see on the wedding day, right? So that's what we're gonna talk about, the difference. Because what happens is you be 20 plus years in, and all of a sudden, somebody just intentionally, as we now have on record, starts to leave doors open. Kitchen drawer doors, cabinet doors, bathroom doors, microwave doors, garage doors, kitchen doors. But you know what's so funny about that? He don't leave the car doors open for me. Let's talk about it, babe. What is the difference? What do you think people be thinking about when they be like, planning weddings and all? Do you think that we at a place now where people be more focused? Not saying everybody, but wedding is like more of the theatrics of planning it and making it beautiful to post about it versus like the work that you about to put in for the rest of your life in marriage. We ain't got to talk about the doors.
We can talk about the doors. I think a lot of times after all of that people get in the habit of leaving the doors open so they can get out.
You know what? You're right, because that microwave get hot when you in it.
That's right.
It sure do.
But going back to what you said,
you better leave it open tonight. And you better leave one eye open too.
Going back, That was good. I think it just depends on the couple. To be honest, I don't think it's fair. I think because you got the couples that are traditional, right? That are a little bit more traditional. That, and what I mean by that is that they may do it the traditional way of dating for 6 months, a year, 2 years, right? And then get married. Then you got the people who do it not so traditional, like me and you, shacking, as they call it. 5 years, and then getting married, having experience. I look at our situation is, our celebration was about us weathering a storm. Now, all storms ain't the same, right? But we weathered a certain kind of storm, and it was a celebration of surviving and doing as much married stuff prior to, and feeling good about our choice to be married, right? So we put a whole lot into that celebration of the bond, and that's how I choose to look at it. And then you have those that maybe, who in that traditional sense, have not went through what we went through, and they may be losing sight of it, or they may not. They may be celebrating, okay, we're getting ready to go through this storm together. We've decided that we're ready to go through a certain level of things and learning together. And then you do have those people who I don't think that they have any vision. They just kind of living in the moment. You know what I mean? It just comes down to the couple, and I just think it's, I try not to be too judgmental of it, because even today, right? With us renewing, we're getting ready to go to our friends' renewal. They're going to renew their vows, the celebration and all of that. Now, we decided not to do it, but there's still a part of me that I feel like we left some stuff undone in our marriage. In our wedding, right? In our wedding, that I was like, man, maybe we should have did that, right? I guess it just depends on the lens that you choose to look at it from. I do concern about those people, because we've lived through a certain, amount of things that I'm like, man, like, I hope y'all know that your marriage is not going to be what this wedding is. You're going to go through some controversy. It ain't going to live. But I'm also in the mind frame that's like, man, yeah, y'all just enjoy this moment right now. Get it all out. Do all this stuff, because not that marriage is, painful or, that any regret is here. It's just that in looking at it in hindsight, I'm celebrating those people who are celebrating themselves and saying, go ahead, be selfish in this moment, because after this moment, you don't get to have that kind of selfishness anymore. Y'all gonna be pulled in so many directions, from family, from kids to careers to all of those things. In this very moment, be selfish, go all out.
I get going all out, but I think the point that I'm making is, and what I feel like my daddy was trying to explain to me, is that your wedding is just that. It's the wedding. It's not the marriage.
It's absolutely not the marriage.
Right? And so I think that right now there's a thing where we have friends, right, and have had friends in the past who thought the wedding was kind of like a fairy tale thing. And in a fairy tale, it's happily ever after, which your marriage can be and should be happily ever after. But it's like there's no real issues, right? There's no conflict. But there is. And even with one friend in particular, trying to explain that to her and her husband prior to getting married, even after they got married, which ultimately the marriage ended, they just didn't believe. They believed in the fairy tale of the wedding and marriage. They didn't believe that problems would arise. It was like, everything is beautiful. Y'all don't be arguing. We like, yeah, y'all don't get to see that. But real arguments do happen in marriage. Real conflict happens. Better and worse happens. Sickness and in health, like all of those things really do happen. I think that's what I'm trying to, I guess, articulate for people, or try to get the understanding of. Do we feel like a lot of people don't think about that, don't have the foresight past the wedding? And you're not necessarily going to know unless you have somebody who's been married for a long time, whether it be your parents or grandparents or aunts, uncles, friends, who sincerely and are genuinely honest and say, hey, listen, these are some things that can come up. This is definitely going to happen, right? To kind of prepare you. And I think, a lot of times people go through like marriage counseling before they get married. Mm-hmm. Some people opt not to do that. We didn't really take it serious. We were so young. We did like a couple worksheets and that was really it. Had a conversation with the pastor, but it wasn't really like the way people do therapy now. Like they really go through a series of things before getting married. Mm-hmm. But to your point, we also were living together for 5 years before we got married. So we kind of went through hands-on training.
That's what I was trying to say.
We went through hands-on training prior to. And for everything that we went through in those 5 years, we could have easily been like, yeah, we probably ain't gonna go and get married. Yeah. But we said, if we'd have been through all that and survived, we can go ahead and get married, right? That's just my thought. I think I want people to understand you can have the most beautiful wedding. I think you should. I think you should go all out however you want it. But I also want us to be mindful that the beautiful wedding does not equal marriage. That's what I'm trying to make clear, hopefully.
I completely understand it. I think it's easy for people to get caught up in that, especially in today's day and age with the technology. I mean, with social media and all that stuff, it's just like anything else, right? With people doing all the content with wealth, right? Marriage is the same way. I can even get caught up in watching somebody's wedding and how beautiful the photo shoot and all that stuff is. But I think I just said, man, if you get married today and you can't separate, you ain't got somebody in your camp that can easily say to you, hey, do you want a wedding or do you want to be married?
Right.
I'm tiptoeing. I mean, I had to have this conversation with my mama. Had to have this conversation like, Ma, like, do you want to be married?
Yeah.
Or you just have a desire to have a wedding? And you can't be offended by it when somebody asks you, because
and both can be true.
Yeah. Right? You can go down a path and lose sight of what it is to be married and what it is to just want to be celebrated. Celebrated, and in which it is a big difference in a celebration with a marriage. It's about you. You're treated like a king and a queen, and being honored. And I feel like we all want at some point in our life to be acknowledged, to be honored, and to be seen in the fashion that most weddings allow you the opportunity to be seen in. And I think that just goes back to what I was saying earlier, and that doesn't necessarily mean that's for me. There were certain things where I wanted Tab that we didn't, that I felt like she was deserving of, or should have been able to have, or relive from our first wedding. And while I was like, yeah, let's do it, right? Initially. So I get it, you know what I mean? But there is definitely a real difference between a wedding and marriage. To me, it's a no-brainer. You got your head down, or you just lying to yourself if you can't see the difference. Marriage is so complex. There's a lot of moving pieces to a wedding, but in marriage, There's no comparison. It's a whole, listen, it ain't pieces. Them is buildings. Them is buildings that's getting moved on a daily basis. Like,
and getting built.
And getting built, all right?
Yeah.
And while you're being rebuilt, who you were before marriage and up there in the ceremony, that day, that person is done. The next day, you are now redefined and reborn, and now having to live your life a little bit differently, or a whole lot differently. So, yeah, it's a lot different. But
and it's funny you say that, because I don't think I ever thought about it that clearly. Like, on your wedding day, it's your last day of being you as you are. That next day, you are now either a husband or a wife, right? Most people...
Which means partner.
You are a partner for real.
Yeah, you are a partner.
Right? Documented partner. Everything, you literally become one. And so I think if you're going to get married, you're considering getting married, make sure you're thinking about all of that. The wedding can be amazing, and it should be. But the days to come after are the most important thing to be focused on. I think another thing is, and I don't know who this is for, but if you can't afford this big luxury wedding, don't do it, right? Because you're doing that for everybody else. You can still have your version that you can afford, because then what happens is you get married and you're going into it with debt together already. Mm-hmm. It's not the best way to start a marriage, because now you're already starting it with something negative. You're already in the negatives if you're starting it with the debt that way, when you could have a house that you want to buy together, something that's going to grow, because the wedding is not going to appreciate. The marriage will, but that wedding, like a house, if you buy a house, that ain't really necessarily debt. It's going to appreciate in value. You can eventually pay it off and still have something to show for it. Your wedding was the one day. Yes, you'll have your marriage that you can show for, but you can't go back to the wedding. You can go back home. You can build on. You can't build on to the wedding, if that makes sense.
That make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would just say, be realistic in your goals. Talk about it. Try not to overspend so that you don't create, that tension. Because it be tension on the wedding days and the days leading up to. I know we didn't talk about this before. We had a whole argument the week before, like, I don't know if I'm going to marry him. That's how heated it get. Mm-hmm. And we didn't have no money. Our wedding wasn't even that expensive, but we had a huge wedding, 300 people. Beautiful wedding. You would have thought we spent thousands upon thousands of dollars on our wedding, which ultimately was like, I think in all was probably like a $6,000 wedding, but we only had to pay half. We praise the Lord for that. But those are things to consider going into, a marriage. Like, how much do you want to put into the tomorrow? Like, after the wedding day, tomorrow, how do I want to wake up with my partner? Ooh, go ahead.
Spin-off. I just thought about something. When you said that thing kind of plucked the nerve.
Uh-oh, go ahead,
look,
babe.
Okay, so we didn't talk about this marriage. We didn't talk to the people who might be thinking about getting married.
All right.
Now I want to talk to the people who attend these marriages.
Attend the weddings?
Yeah, who come to these marriages, okay?
To the weddings? Or the,
yeah,
oh, okay.
who attend these weddings and show up. Stop showing up empty-handed.
Oh. Mm.
And giving people re-gifting stuff. We got to change that narrative. If you know that you one day want to be married, and listen, for the people who don't believe in marriage, don't go. Keep your tail at the crib. Don't even come. For those that want to attend and believe in marriage, or are married and know what it takes to get a couple young in years or young in age, you need to consider all of that and invest into that couple. I'm not saying empty out your bank account. I'm saying give them, if you're going to give them a gift in the physical, make sure it ain't something that was just sitting around the house but can be beneficial to that couple. We got to change the narrative of how we invest in people, right? Get them off to a good start to where they don't have to worry about financial problems. And it don't take a whole lot. It does not take a whole lot, and ain't nobody asking you to pay their bills. What we saying is invest in those people and stop showing up empty-handed. If you ain't got it, you ain't got it. But in most cases, you do. Instead of buying that hat to go with that fit so you can show up and stunt with people at the wedding, hold that and get that to that couple. Put that suit on that you got in the closet, because it ain't about you. That day is not about you. That day is about an investment into somebody in their marriage and building a new legacy and foundation, right? Sensitive subject for me, because I've seen other people and I've seen weddings behind after hours. And we had a beautiful wedding. We did. But I've seen on numerous occasions where couples, great couples, go over and beyond. And I'm with Tab. You need to be mindful of that. You need to be mindful of the budget that you have and not going into debt. That is your responsibility. But the responsibility is not theirs alone if you're partaking and you see them stretching and you are coming in there empty-handed and not understanding of the investment. The understanding of the investment is not just on the couple itself, but on the family members, the friends, the extended family as well. I just feel the need to say that. Invest in those people. Take pride in it. Or stay at the crib.
Well, I agree that in the gifting aspect, even if you have $10,
there you go,
or $20 or $5
from 300 people,
put it in a card, right? But I will say there's one thing I don't necessarily agree with, because we lived it. If you don't necessarily believe in marriage, you can be shifted, Chance Brown. Because you didn't believe.
Well, you're exactly right. And I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
What I left off of that is the people who don't believe in it and want to speak it out loud and or buzzkill or bad energy.
Yeah, if you have bad intentions.
That's what I failed to say.
But you can be shifted.
Yeah,
right?
But I'm never gonna show up to a wedding and voice that I don't believe in this. This is stupid.
Yeah.
Let's see where they at in 5 years.
Now you just hate.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. Those are the people I'm referring to. And I know we all got family members. We know people like that. You know who I'm talking about.
And here we are.
21
years later.
There you go.
How
You get what I'm talking about. So I did.
I'm glad you
said
married.
that. Yeah. Yeah. So those are people I'm talking about. Ain't no need in going to rain on nobody's parade. When I was going, I didn't have an understanding of marriage, but I kept my mouth shut. I understood what I didn't. I wasn't saying that it wasn't gonna work. I was saying that the paperwork, I didn't understand the bond and paperwork of why. Like, we together, right? And that was a conversation between me and you. I enjoy going to the weddings and seeing people in love. I'm talking about that person. It's like
somebody who got a little something going on. But you can also, to your point, not necessarily believe that the marriage is necessary. Which is what Chance. That's how he used to feel. And we went to a wedding, and he felt that way so wholeheartedly that he convinced me that it was fine. And so I stopped talking about it too. I was like, well, shoot, I'm with you. As long as we're together, I'm fine.
We're fine.
Although I grew up wanting to be married, right? We were together for years, and I was just like, okay, I'm cool if we just gonna stay together. But we went to this one wedding, and it just shifted something in Chance, and he was like, I think waiting for me to say I still want to get married.
It made sense.
Yeah.
It wasn't that I was against the bond or two people giving their lives together. Giving their lives to each other. It was more or less like how we started the conversation. I was accustomed to people I want a wedding.
Yeah.
Right? And nobody had gave a good representation of what marriage was. And when I heard the man up there preaching, really, and talking about marriage, I was like, oh, legacy. I remember it sitting there. I had my little black on with the little turtleneck, hot as a mug. I remember I was sitting there with my Durangos on. I was chilling.
You got Carlos over there choking.
And I just remember him talking about legacy and generations of legacy that can be built on two people's bond and all things that I had never heard but I had knew that, this is what I want out of what we have.
Yeah.
And then the benefits of the paperwork was in that. The benefits of the bond under God's eyes in association with that. And I was like, why ain't nobody why, but
why hadn't it been explained that way to you?
So when it made sense to me, I was like, oh yeah, we absolutely got to get married, right? Yeah. So it wasn't against the bond. I'm talking about people who have been hurt in some form or fashion, right? And for whatever reason, and spewing out bad energy. Just don't come. That's just I don't come.
I think you made it very clear.
Don't.
But that also leads me to something. There are families, right, who your grandma won't never marry. Maybe your granddaddy won't never marry. Aunts, uncles, your mom and daddy ain't never been married. Like, marriage is not a thing in your family, right? It could be generations of no marriage. You can still be the first, right? Even if you haven't seen representation directly in your family, if that's your desire to build and be married to your partner and you find yourself in love in a way that you cannot live without this person, and you have decided, I do want to be married, I do believe in what comes along with this, you still can be the first in your family. You still can do it. Even if in your family, somebody has been married and then they're divorced. I am a child of divorce. My parents were together over 20-something years and they divorced. Yet we still got married. I still believe in marriage, right? So just because it doesn't necessarily happen and you may not have anybody encouraging you in your family to get married, if it is your desire and you feel like God has placed you with your partner to be married, to exchange vows and build a life together, and you're willing to do the work, absolutely, you still go forward with that, right? Y'all on the same page with it, baby, you can still get married. It's all right. Okay, even if grandma and mama and dad, whoever, even if they talking to us, sometimes you're gonna have to silence the noise of family or friends or co-workers, because there's a lot of bitter people in the world. There's a lot of people who maybe even if they're not bitter, they just have never been in love. They don't know what that feels like. They don't know what it looks like. You still can have a fruitful marriage and a beautiful wedding, if that's your business, okay? But I also believe in people not having beautiful weddings if they don't want to. I have a girlfriend who just eloped, and she is so doggone happy. And she was like, we're going to take that money and we're going to buy us a house, right? However you want to do it. The whole meaning of this conversation is that make sure it's not just wedding focused, but you're marriage focused, right? I think how we plan our wedding sometimes should be a sign of how we intend on going into our marriage. Be mindful of what we're spending. Be mindful of how we are loving each other through the process, because it is overwhelming. It can be a lot, especially like if you can't afford to have like a wedding planner and all this stuff. Be mindful of how we're treating each other in the season of planning the wedding, because that's also, just a little glimpse at how we may treat each other when there's things that we got to plan in our marriage, right? When things ain't going as planned, things happen. Let's just be mindful of that. I think that's really what I hope the point got across today.
We made the point.
We made the point, babe.
We made the point. This is what we touched on. Wedding ain't marriage.
Period.
If you have a desire to get married, get married. If you don't, stay at home.
Oh.
Don't show up empty-handed. We're giving you the Cliff Note version. And you need something more than, we didn't touch on this, but I'm gonna add it in there. You need something more than lust in order for the marriage to survive. Okay?
You know what, babe? You just said you didn't touch on that, but we should touch on that a little bit more. It ain't gonna be with the movies that you watch. That ain't marriage.
That ain't marriage.
Okay? It ain't marriage. Those are actors. Those are actors acting. That is not marriage. That is not your sex life. That is not how you resolve things. That's a movie. Your marriage is not going to be fairy tale. Although some days it will feel like a fairy tale.
Most days.
It'll be beautiful.
The good days will definitely outweigh the bad.
Right. But
the bad feel real bad because of that.
It does.
Listen, the good days outweigh the bad days.
Yeah.
But because they are so great, that one day can feel like the most horrible experience in your life. Don't let that go over your head now. Yeah. Some of y'all will lose sight of that in an argument and forget about all of the great things that led you up to this one bad day. Yeah. One bad week, right? One bad month. And that month, you'll start thinking about things and lose sight. Man, we've been together 20-something years. We had a bad month.
Or a bad season.
Bad season.
Yeah.
Right? So, and just keep that in mind.
And also, now, we're not saying we don't believe in divorce, because I wholeheartedly believe in divorce. I don't believe everybody is meant to be married. Some folk got married that shouldn't have.
Golly, babe, you took a harsh one. You just took that.
And we got to make sure we clear on that.
Get off.
We got to make sure that sometimes the door has been left open for a reason to get out, like you said. But not every argument means you're going to get a divorce. Not every disagreement, you ain't got to leave.
All right, babe, we're going to leave it. We're going to leave it because we said we started out with wedding and marriage.
But this is what I'm saying. Because when the wedding, after the day, it's over. That don't mean after the argument is over. It means you got work to do.
That's called marriage.
That's called marriage, okay? So live and learn. Put in the work. But it's going to be good after the wedding. The wedding day going to be amazing. Y'all enjoy it. But all the energy and love and preparation you put into that, make sure you do that times double for the marriage. Every day. Got to put the work in.
All right.
That's it?
That's it.
All right. Anything else you want to say?
So give me some sugar because you started out with some nasty energy.
No, I didn't. I thought maybe you was going to say something about them doors. That you going to work on keeping them doors closed. No, I don't need no sugar. I said you going to work on keeping them doors. I don't need no sugar. I need to know you going to put that top on that toothpaste.
Babe, end it.
You going to close them doors.
Way. We done did all this.
I almost got kidnapped yesterday.
And now you want to, babe. End the show.
They would have hog-tied me, and you would have. They would have hog-tied me in here.
Babe, end the show.
Me and Blackie.
I don't know how to hog-tie people. End the show.
All right. We wish y'all nothing but success, beautiful weddings, marriage, bliss, and all the things. Okay? We love y'all. Send in some questions if y'all want us to, do some topics and things. If y'all got some topics or questions y'all want us to answer about marriage, about us, or whatever the thing is, comment below. Let us know. All right? And until the next time, honey, y'all keep those doors closed. All right? And have the most amazing day. But even if you can't have a good one, don't you dare go messing up nobody else's here. Love y'all. Bye. Thank you for watching this episode, honey. And if you liked it, go ahead and click right here for more of those episodes.
And if you haven't already subscribed, please remember to do so.
Very good.